In the last 12 months, 32 young children under 4 died in preventable drowning tragedies, with a staggering 59% of those deaths occurring in home swimming pools. Today, Royal Lifesaving is launching a campaign it hopes will help prevent such horrific statistics.
Hey Mum. Hey Dad. I think you better watch this. Pool safety is essential all year round to prevent me from drowning. Always watch me around the pool. Keep the fence secure and the gate locked. And learn resuscitation.
These are simple actions that really do make a difference. So keep watch and prevent your child from drowning.
Keep watch, keep watch.
That's right, learn resuscitation. Richard Franklin from Royal Lifesaving joins us with Michael Morris, who knows all too well the tragedy associated with an unsafe home pool. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, David and Kim.
Richard, could I start with you first? We're told over and over again to keep the home pool safe and locked and secure. Why isn't this message getting through?
Well, we think there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, obviously, you've got a new group of parents coming through with young children who might not be familiar with some of the things they need to do. Also, we're seeing the ageing of the pool fencing. So often something that might have been secure last year or even 5 years ago has deteriorated, the ground's moved, the gate no longer closes. So it's really a wake-up call for all parents and all home pool owners to get in and check it. And that's why Royal Lifesaving and Poolworks have worked together to develop a checklist that people can download and easily get in and make sure everything's safe.
All right, you mentioned we can download that. Where can we do that?
Go to homepoolsafety.com.au, get in and download the checklist. We're also running a bit of a competition for those that want to get in and let us know what's working on their pool fence, because we want to know more as well, specifically those areas where we need to target in and get things to work. We know the gate's probably the weakest point, and that's why we want people to get in, make sure they're closes and latches from every single position.
All right, Michael, let's bring you in here. You've experienced every parent's worst nightmare. Can you tell us what happened to Samuel?
Yeah, back in April 2006, my son Samuel was playing in the backyard with his older sister. They were playing in the area fenced off away from the pool. We were one of those families meticulous with the gate, assumed that our pool fence was in good working order, but unfortunately Samuel has shaken a panel of the pool fence that's come away and allowed him to get into the pool. His sister raised the alarm and my wife had the unfortunate duty of finding Samuel floating in the pool and commencing CPR. And sadly, as a result of that accident, Samuel has been left with a severe brain injury and numerous disabilities.
You see, that's
you raise a really interesting point there, because you check the latch, but you don't necessarily think to go and check all the panels.
Yeah, and I guess that's what part of our support for this message is to say that it isn't simply remembering the gate. It's a whole section. Like the gate and the fence make one particular whole item. So we're encouraging people to go to homepoolsafety.com.au and download that check sheet and get out there in their backyard and check. Go through the check sheet step by step.
Michael, how quickly did it happen?
It's literally just a matter of minutes, and the sad reality is that drowning is silent. It's very, very quick and it's silent. So those that have the misapprehension or the misunderstanding that they'll hear the child if they fall into the water, sadly that's not the case.
Michael, we've just seen some pictures of Samuel when he was in hospital. What condition is he in now?
Well, Samuel's just come out of hospital after his 30th admission following on from his near-drowning accident. That's included a number of major surgeries to correct problems that have resulted from it, numerous respiratory problems. Samuel is a brave little man and he fights incredibly well, but as I mentioned, unfortunately he has very severe disabilities and a range of ongoing medical complications.
And that's the thing, I'm sure that, you know, for all those parents watching out there, seeing those pictures and hearing this story is incredibly, incredibly heart-moving. And the thing is that it can happen so very quickly, can't it, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, we think that a minute's a long period of time, but when you're engaged in doing an activity, you know, that minute flies by. And as Michael was saying, it's really, what we often hear is that people say, hang on, there's no noise there. Why don't I hear them playing? Why don't I hear them running around? And that's often what alerts people that they're in the water. And I guess that's why we want people to get in. And as Michael was saying before, not only do you need to make sure the pool fence is working, you need to have good supervision when they're in the water, but also learning CPR, having the skills and drills to know what to do when an emergency hits. And Michael was very lucky that his wife had those skills and was able to get in and do something and save the life. And you know, it just boggles the mind that people don't have those skills and drills.
Richard, are we doing enough? Should more be done? For instance, should we require authorities to go around to everybody's home pool and check that every summer? It seems that we're always having this conversation.
Yeah, unfortunately it does. It comes up every year. I believe that we do need to have the local councils involved and engaged in the process. That doesn't necessarily mean a check every year, but they need to make sure that when the pool goes in the first place, that everything's in good working order, and then that we do need to check up on a regular basis. And we've heard from Michael's story as well, just about the fencing becoming a little bit, rusted, or the panels coming loose, or a gap underneath. And so again, you can do it yourself, get in and make your summer check, but every couple of years it's good to have an expert who's going around looking at different pools and kind of going, oh, did you think that this tree might be something that you can climb over? What about this barbecue or something like that? So again, getting in, going to homepoolsafety.com.au, downloading the checklist that Royal Lifesaving Pool Works have developed, and trying to get in and make sure that you're doing it yourself. I mean, we hate to be Big Brother saying, hey, you've got to go and do this, but we do need people to get out there and make sure that's right, and then bring the experts in at the right time when it's new, and also a couple of years down the track to make sure that everything's still working.
Yeah, well said. Thank you, Richard. And thank you, Michael. We really appreciate you talking to us today.
Yes, thank you both.
Thank you very much.
New figures out today show an alarming increase in the number of toddler drownings in backyard pools, which account for nearly 60% of all drowning deaths of children under 4.
Yes, Royal Lifesaving says these deaths are preventable and has launched this new campaign called Keep Watch to try and do something about it.
And joining us now is Dr. Richard Franklin, Royal Lifesaving's Manager of Research and Health Promotion. Doctor, thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
These figures are amazing. In the past 12 months, 32 young children aged 0 to 4 died in preventable drowning tragedies.
Yeah, it's horrific to think that, that so many children drown, nearly sort of 1 every 2 weeks, and they just kind of peter through, and I guess we don't think about it as a block of children drowning, and really they are all preventable with some pretty simple strategies and actions that people can put in place.
Now, your information says that this has actually risen quite dramatically, yet it seems that at the moment that regulations on pool fences that are at an all-time high, we have these campaigns, it's very visible, it's much publicised in the news every summer. Unfortunately, people like us read really sad stories about toddlers drowning. Why is it increasing?
Well, I think unfortunately the legislation's been around in New South Wales since '92 and around Australia around that sort of time. So what we're seeing is the fences are starting to deteriorate. The gates are just not closing properly, it's moved slightly, the storms might have washed a bit of area underneath, rusting fence palings, that type of thing. So we're getting people on to go to homepoolsafety.com.au, download a checklist and just get in and make sure that the pool fencing is in good working order, that the gate closes from all positions, no matter where it is. And that's really part of it. But also it's about the parents getting in and supervising their kids as well. So whenever they're on, in or near water, it's important to make sure that they're within arm's reach, engaging with them, not looking up from the newspaper, not kind of checking out a window, but really being active as part of that sort of strategy.
Yes, because one of the most common things you hear from parents who sadly lose a child is how quickly it happened. The child was there 1 minute, I just went over here to do this, and next minute the child was gone and drowned.
Yeah, and I guess also the stories we hear is, what alerted us was it was silent. So people often think, I hear them splashing, I'll hear them making a lot of noise, and I'll hear them crying out. But that's not what happens at all. They tend to go in head first, very quietly, very quickly, and you only got a couple of minutes, before sort of brain damage happens, and then obviously after that they die.
You've gone so far as to say that many pools, up to 80% of pools, are non-compliant, and you've called them death traps.
Yeah, there's been a couple of studies that have been done around Australia, and when the local councils have gone in and done just a random selection of pools, they've found a number of them don't comply. Some of them are very minor sorts of things, but some of them are major, with fence palings missing, the fence completely removed, that type of thing. That's why Royal Lifesaving and Pool Works are getting together to get people out there to really push the message about Keep Watch, making sure your pool fence is working and that they're supervising the kids.
One of the things that I was made aware of when going to a friend's house was about structures that are put near pools, like cubby houses. Someone puts one up against a fence and doesn't realise that that is an immediate climbing frame for a child to get over the fence.
Yeah, we tend to, I guess, become a little bit complacent with the pool in the backyard, and we also want it to look good. So, we put chairs, we put trees that can be climbed, we put cubby houses, barbecues are another common item that you see. They just become a stepladder and children up and over very quickly. So again, the fence is not going to prevent the kids totally from getting in, but it'll slow them down. It'll give you enough time to get there and protect them and set those rules around how you use the pool and make sure you have a fun, safe and happy summer rather than a tragic one.
So what's the most important message you'd like to get across to parents today?
Well, I guess there's two things we want to get across to parents. Firstly, download the checklist and make sure that your pool fence is in working order. This is the primary strategy in preventing the kid from drowning. Secondly, if you're around water, make sure you're supervising them, having fun, active with them so that they're safe around water.
OK, Dr. Richard Franklin, good to have you in the studio this morning here on First Edition. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Well, the hot weather is a timely reminder we need to be aware of water safety. Last year, 32 Australian children under the age of 4 drowned, a dramatic increase on previous years. To tell us why and what can be done to prevent more loss of life, I'm joined by Dr. Richard Franklin from the Royal Life Saving Society. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Franklin. Where do most drownings occur?
Well, for children under the age of 5, we see most of them occur in the backyard pool. Nearly 3 out of 5 of every child that drowned was in a backyard pool, and that's why we're here, to try and get the message out, to get in and check your pool fence, make sure it's in good working order so that it stops children getting into the pool area and hopefully prevents these drowning deaths from occurring.
Well, what's caused the spike in toddler drownings over the last year?
Well, we think there are a couple of reasons. Firstly, we think that the pool fencing is starting to deteriorate. That's why Royal Life Saving Pool Works got together to develop a checklist which you can download from homepoolsafety.com.au and get in and check the pool. But also, I guess, a little bit of complacency. In the hot weather, we see people coming out and just leaving gates open. So it's really a wake-up call to everybody to get out there, check their pool fence and make sure it's working well.
Well, we hear these messages every year. Do you have any more advice to parents when it comes to pool safety?
Yeah, I also would like to remind parents that if the child is in the water, they need to be supervising them. This doesn't mean just looking up from a newspaper or checking out the window. It means being within arm's reach of the child at all times when they're around the water. It's about having fun and enjoying the water as much as anything else, and also learning CPR so you've got the skills and drills to do something if something goes wrong.
Do you believe we need to implement tougher pool safety laws across the country?
Yeah, I think we do. I think what we're seeing is that the pool fencing, when it goes in the first place, is actually not up to standard. Also, we know there are critical times, so when you move into a new house or when the house is rented. So at these stages, we should be making sure the pool fence meets the current standards and making sure that everybody who's in that house is safe.
All good advice, Dr. Richard Franklin. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
And for more information on that story, there's a link on our Yahoo 7 website.
Well, with summer just around the corner, the Royal Life Saving Society is again urging pool owners to make sure their backyard swimming pools are not death traps. In the past year alone, 32 children under the age of 4 have drowned. We're joined now by Justin Scarr, the Chief Operating Officer. Justin, good morning and thanks for your time. I understand there's a checklist that people can follow for their pool. What's on the checklist?
That's right. The Royal Life Saving Home Pool Safety Checklist is available on our website, and it takes home pool owners through a number of key points that they need to check in their backyard pool environment to ensure that it's safe this summer.
Now, that figure, 32 children under 4 over the past year, that's higher, you were saying?
Yeah, it is an increase, but specifically 60% of those happen in that backyard swimming pool environment, and that's why we've partnered with Poolworks this year to focus on specifically the gate, the fence, while reinforcing adult supervision around swimming pools.
And is it right that apparently 80% of pools don't actually comply with the current safety standards?
Yeah, tragically, a research project in Queensland inspected a number of swimming pools in a local government area, and they found that 80% of them were non-compliant, and that's putting children at grave risk.
So what else can parents do? Because they're just as responsible, obviously, as the government is here.
Yeah, absolutely. Parents are responsible for supervision primarily, but if they have a backyard swimming pool at this time of year, the Keep Watch program is really asking them to get out now, inspect the fence, inspect the gate, ensure that things aren't, perhaps trees aren't draping over the fence that might allow little ones to get over that fence and into the pool.
Now, Queensland is bringing in laws from December, a non-climbable zone, so kids can't climb over the fence. Is that something that will happen nationally? Is that something you'd like to see happen nationally?
Yeah, the Royal Life Saving Society is advocating hard to governments across the country to improve swimming pool fencing legislation. It is in fact a strong evidence base to reduce drowning, to eliminate drowning, and all governments should be looking very, very closely at those regulations.
All right, thank you very much, Justin, for your time this morning.
Well, the Hollywood Minute up next, including a Sunday Rose update.
And Samantha Riley will join us with tips on pool safety as well. It's an important one ahead of the summer. Everything is going to be all right in the summertime. Well, the temperature is rising, and what better way for the kids to cool off than splashing around in the pool? Here to tell us how to keep your little ones safe is swimming legend Samantha Riley. Hey, Sam, good to see you.
Thank you very much. Good to be here nice and early.
It is a great time of year to remind all the parents at home what they should be aware of around the pool. What are some of the strategies that they should be looking at?
That's right. Well, coming into summer, obviously a lot of families are around the water. Unfortunately, over the last 12 months, we've seen a real spike in the number of drownings in Australia. It's been quite a horrific 12 months in regard to statistics. So it's a very important time for us to try and get some key messages out to the community. And things like pool safety is obviously one of them. What we did find last year was that 60% of backyard pool drownings in the 0 to 4 year age group actually happened in backyard pools, which is quite a scary statistic. And I think as a parent myself, there's nothing worse than thinking, you know, we've got a backyard pool and it's fenced and it's safe, when in fact the fence might not be in good working order. So our real key message is to try and really get parents and people with pools to make sure their home pool fence is in good working order.
It's so tragic when you hear these stories, but in terms of those safety procedures and protocols, there are a couple of things that we should raise. First of all, the supervision of your child is key because they can just move so quickly and they can go under the water so quickly.
That's exactly right, Carl. Supervision is the #1 key message. Nothing replaces supervision, and in fact all toddler drownings are preventable, and I think if we can really push that supervision message, it's very important. Obviously learning CPR and resuscitation is something that you really never want to have to use, but if you do need it, you want to be able to administer it properly. Things like teaching your children to swim. We've got 4 young children in the background having a great time in the pool, and we've actually got Mum who's wearing one of our Keep Watch hats. And it's a designated supervisor hat, and I think it's a fantastic initiative because quite often we have backyard, you know, pool barbecues or pool parties, and there's a lot of parents around with young children, and everyone thinks someone else is watching the children, when in fact if all the parents thought that way, then no one's watching the children. So they've come up with this great idea of the Keep Watch safety hat. If that person needs to go to the bathroom or get another drink, then they pass the hat to someone else. So it means that someone's always watching the children.
Very good call, Sam, and a great reminder. Just before we go, I was after your thoughts on the sports funding row at the moment. A new report recommends directing money away from Olympic sports and into more community-based sports. As an elite Australian representative, do you have any thoughts on that story?
I think it's a real shame to take funding away from elite sports. I think sport really needs the role models to try and continue the participation at the grassroots level. You know, with swimming, we really want those young children involved and from an early age so that they are safe. And, you know, who knows what future champions we might have in the water that come out of it. So, yeah, I think, you know, funding needs to keep going if possible.
Hear, hear, Sam. Thank you very much. You continue to be a great role model and teaching a new generation all about the pool. Good on you. Thanks for your time today. Great to see you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, Lisa.